This conference will now be recorded.
Hello and welcome to this short guide to the NEBOSH Diploma Online or Online Plus versions. My name is Chris Newson. I'm the Head of Learning at Make UK Health and Safety. I'm going to spend a few minutes, hopefully not that long, just explaining how our new Online and Online Plus courses work, and hopefully give you a flavour, either if it's something you're interested in, to show you how it works, or if you've already enrolled, you can watch this video back as many times as you like to help you in how to approach the course in the best way, we think. Everyone's different, of course. Everyone's got different learning styles. This is how we think it's best to approach it. But part of the benefit of studying in this way is that you can approach the course in any way you like. So these are just ideas. Okay, so hopefully you can see on my screen our learner management system. So that's what this is here. If you have enrolled on several courses with Make UK, you will see a menu of all of those courses. If you've only enrolled on one, for example, in this case, the NEBOSH Diploma Unit A, that's the only one you will see, and it's very straightforward. Therefore, you just log on to that course. If you decide to enroll on, for example, A and B together, then you'll see A and B, but you're only going to be looking at one at a time, hopefully. So this is Unit A that I'm going to use as an example. We can see the course in front of us. Once you enroll on the course, whether it's online or Online Plus, you have access to this system for the length of your studies, whether that's 2 years, 5 years, or 3 weeks. You have access during that whole period. So you have access to this learner management system. I'm going to talk through exactly what that includes today. Okay, so first of all, a couple of things that will help you. If you look on this opening course page here, you will see we've got things like the syllabus guide, a step-by-step guide, which is basically a written down version of this short video, and some other things which I'll come back and refer to. So you will always end up, when you enroll on the course, on the first page, which looks like this. Now, what I'm going to do while we're here as well is I'm going to just change my role to student, so that means my screen will look exactly the same as yours, so that there's no confusion. Let's do that. Okay, so you now literally will see exactly what I see. So very quickly, I've already explained the benefit of this course in that you can do it at your own pace. You can do it very quickly, very slowly. You can take a break for 6 months. You can come back to it. Whenever you are engaging with the course, we would recommend, as I say, that you take this set of steps, if you like, and you'll see it in this step-by-step guide. So first of all, the first thing I would suggest doing is to look at the syllabus guide. So you simply click on there, you can see that link there, and it opens up the syllabus guide. To save us a bit of time today, I've already done that. Not that it takes very long, but let's try and avoid any internet-based problems or anything. So I've downloaded it already. It's here. So this is the syllabus guide from NEBOSH. It's not our document. It's from NEBOSH, of course, themselves. And what I personally think this is useful for is if you're looking at Unit A, for example, at the very beginning, it will tell you all the learning outcomes and all the elements that are in the course. So with Unit A, there are 11 elements. So for each of those elements, in this case, A1, you can see how that works. There are a number of learning outcomes, and they'll all be different depending on which element you're looking at. Now, for element A1, there happens to be 4 learning outcomes. So what I would suggest is looking at the syllabus here, and I wouldn't read the whole document, to be quite honest with you. It's 122 pages, but I would look at the learning outcomes, and I try and understand, okay, what do they want me to do? What is the test? What is the assessment going to be about? What is important for me to learn? And so if I read those, I can see that, for example, I need to be able to explain the moral, legal, and economic reasons for the effective management of health and safety. I need to be able to do that in order to pass any assessment that NEBOSH might throw at me. There's no point, in my opinion, trying to prepare for, you know, which questions do you think are most likely to come up. It doesn't work like that. You need to be able to, in this case, explain that learning outcome. That is the only way to approach the course. So once I understand these learning outcomes, I can read a bit further and see what the content of each one is. But really, I would stop there and I would understand. I personally would approach it, let's just look at 1.1. So I need to be able to explain the moral and legal, economic reasons, etc. Okay, so that's the first thing I need to do. So that's why I would look at the syllabus. Okay, if we go back then, I'm going to hopefully take you back to the main screen. He says. Okay, so yeah, hopefully you can see this. Good, very good. So A1 we were just looking at, so we understand exactly the 4 learning outcomes that are there for A1. So all I've done there now is click on A1, and I can see that here I've got them broken down. So here are my 4 learning outcomes. Now, you'll see that we have produced some summary slides that are there. So there's a pack of slides in a PDF version for you to look at. Now, the pitfall that you can come across here is thinking, well, I don't need to read the whole workbook that's available. I'll just look at the slides. Once again, that doesn't work unless you know you have lots of background in health and safety. You don't need to look at the workbook, you know. Okay, but I would focus on the workbook and read that learning outcome, and I really would attack it by each learning outcome one by one. So these are the summary slides, but before I do that, I'm going to go back to the main course page here, and I'm just going to show you something. So this tab here, the workbooks, if I click on that, you'll see it opens up. There are 3 workbooks for Unit A. So I've got number 1, which takes me from A1 to A6. Number 2 takes me from A7 towards the end of the course. And then there's a case study guide as well, particularly with Unit A, because it's about the law. There is that supplementary or 3rd workbook. So if you were to click on one of those, once again, I've downloaded it for us already. Very good, so that's working. So we've got element A1, and this is the workbook. So it explains, or it shows all the learning outcomes for the course, as you can see here. If I then come down, I've got my 4 elements, 4 learning outcomes, sorry, that hopefully I'm familiar with. And I go down here. So I know that I want to look at 1.1. So I can see in the top corner here, 1.1 is what I'm looking at. So I would suggest reading that. There's no way to shortcut this. Yeah, I would suggest reading that. Now, you'll find in the workbook there are lots of study questions where you can have a go at the questions, and there's then a suggested answer at the end. So that is the self-assessment that we've talked about on this online course. Online plus slightly different, but online is the self-assessment, literally self-assessment questions. So you answer those, and when you want to, you can go to the end of the book and see what the answer is, or the suggested answer. So really would strongly suggest reading the workbook first. Once I've looked at the workbook, then I go back to that main course page I was on before, this one, and I can now, if I go to element 1, and I can see there under 1.1 I've got the summary slides. Okay, so now if I again, if I was to open up the summary slides, they look like this, as you would imagine. And really important to be careful here. As I say, you really need to read the workbook. This is just a summary of then. It's how we would teach it in a face-to-face class environment, but we've changed things considerably so that it makes sense without anyone having to explain it, if you like. So that's the slides that are there. Okay, so we've looked at the learning outcome, we've understood what that is, we've read the workbook, we've then looked at the slides. You've got those self-assessment questions in the workbook, and the idea is that you look at those and you assess yourself, and when you think you're ready for your exam, you can contact us and organize it from there, but it very much is self-learning. Now, if we just pause there, if you take the other option, which is the Online Plus course, it goes from being purely self-learning to more of a blended approach. And so what we mean by that is, you'll see if we refer back to the course page again, 1.1, we've got an exercise here. So it says 1.1 exercise. Now, if I click on that, this is exactly what you will see because we're in the student view. Okay, so we'll see a Word document there. Now, for each of the learning outcomes has one of these exercises. And again, I've downloaded one previously. Hopefully, I have. Yes. I just need to change what I'm sharing there. 1 second. Okay. So this is what it will look like. So this is just a Word document. It asks for your name, and then there's a question. So there's a question per learning outcome. The idea is that you would write down here your answer. Okay. So that's what you do. Now, again, this is on Online Plus only. So you complete that. If we then go back to the main screen, okay, so I've completed that Word document. I've saved it onto my own computer, and I press Add Submission here, and it allows me to drag it into a box. Now, the beauty of this is with the Online Plus that the tutor, so the what we call the unit leader for each one of these units, so for Unit A, would look at your submission and read it and give you a sort of it's not really a grade, but would give you a steer for how well you're doing in a sort of red, green, and amber. So they would say green, you've clearly perfectly understood that outcome. Red, you haven't, and amber is somewhere in the middle. So they would rate your answer as that and give you some feedback, some written feedback, not extensive, but some written feedback on why you had, why it was amber or red. If it's green, it's green. We're not going to give you feedback on that because you've shown that you've well understood the learning outcome. So that is the slight difference with Online Plus, is that you get that in-course feedback. Okay, so I'm then going to go back to the course. Now, the only other thing I wanted to say on this page is that we're looking here at element 1. Okay, the other thing you'll find here is a library of useful resources. So you'll see here we've got things like the IOSH Code of Conduct, and in this case some guidance notes from the HSE, all relevant course material for element A1. Now, element A1, we're just introducing the course, and so therefore a lot of this is about, you might say, basic things like moral, legal, or economic reasons. I thought it'd be a bit more interesting to show you one of the later elements, and then we can see where these resources really come into their own. So if we look at A10, which is human factors, you'll see here same sort of approach. Look, you've got summary slides, you've got the exercises, okay, and then if we go down into the useful resources, on the Unit A diploma, specifically in Unit 10, there are a number of case studies, I suppose you would call them. In other words, you've got to have an understanding of these, in this case, disasters. And so they are things that you might be familiar with already. For example, we've got the Kegworth air disaster, the Herald of Free Enterprise ferry disaster again, Piper Alpha, Ladbroke Grove, the list goes on. And there is a requirement in the syllabus for you to at least have an appreciation of those incidents. And so there's lots you can read about them in the workbook and in our slides. But what we've also included here is, where it's appropriate and where we can, short films, and not short sometimes, but films on these different disasters. And so it really is up to you and your learning style on whether you prefer to read a book, look at some slides, or watch a film, or maybe you want to do all three. But it's up to you, and it's flexible. So I just thought I'd show you, as I say, a slightly more interesting element than A1. So you can see the sort of different things that we're doing here. So that's A10, just as an example. And I should explain in terms of navigation, now thinking that you might use this video on and off throughout the course, whenever you want to return to the home screen, the navigation is not very complicated. Whenever you want to return to the home screen, you get this box at the bottom, you press jump to and the main course page. The alternative is at the top, you've got a trail of breadcrumbs here. So we're in element 10 and we can very quickly just go back to Unit A course page by pressing that button. So we end up here. Okay, so hopefully that's given you a quick overview of how we would suggest that you attack the content that's on the learner management system. Now, I've just got to say a couple of other things here. There are two different ways to do the course, as we know. There's online and online plus. With online, you have access to everything that I've shown you here. You don't have the tutor input into your answers to the questions. That's in online plus. But what you do get is a one-day virtual webinar, seminar, live event held in June and December, just before the exams each year. And it's 1 day per unit. So if you're studying Unit A, there's 1 day scheduled that you can attend. So this is all self-learning, but then you can attend that live event with the tutor and ask questions and have, if you feel you want a part of the course explained in a bit more detail, we will do that during that day. Clearly, there's lots of time there. How much time we can spend on it depends on how many students attend, of course, but we find quite often that people are asking similar questions. So you get that 1 day session per unit. So A, B, C, and D, that's 4 days, held in June and then in December. You can attend 1 session for each unit. If you're doing online plus, so you get that as well, but with online plus, you get 8 specific half-day webinars. So 8 specific half-day webinars, 3 on Unit A, 2 on Unit B, 2 on Unit C, and 1 on Unit D, which is used really to explain how you attack that bit of the course. The difference there is that we will go into a bit more detail explaining the key points of Unit A, and we will allow you to submit questions ahead of time, and we will ensure that all those questions are answered. So we are able, if we think about it, to go into a lot more detail on those sessions because there are more of them. There's 3 for Unit A, whereas on online, just online, there's only 1 session. But if you do an online plus, you get the online session and the online plus sessions as well. So it's up to you which one you want to do, but those are the differences. Okay, so hopefully you found this session useful. If you want to contact me directly and ask me any questions about this course, my email is cnewson, so that's NEWSON, @makeuk.org. Okay, thank you very much.